What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Dubstar, and we're continuing through Make It Better 2000. Thank you again to Phil, as well as to Mark, both of whom have been commenting as we've gone through this journey. And I did want to mention, I found it interesting that both of you were not overly fond of Arc of Fire, if only because that tune hit my brain pretty nicely sonically, though I did get what essentially both of you were saying, that it's not the type of sonic configuration that seems to work the best with their songwriting and is not necessarily reflective of what they do best as a group or as a duo. So yeah, I was intrigued by that. At the same time, I understood where that interpretation or those interpretations came from. So in any case, the next track is Believe in Me, which makes me think of the two Talk Talk tracks, I Don't Believe in You and I Believe in You. But ultimately, yes, the idea of wanting to be believed in is, of course, I'm not going to say inherently human. I suppose there's some people who are more antisocial and don't care what other people think. But by and large, humans want to feel that others regard them sincerely and sympathetically. And of course, believe in this case, I would take more about having moral and or interpersonal support for someone, even in cases where maybe they've failed to live up to something in the past. Not so much about empirical reality, I believe in you in terms of the proposition that you exist, but rather the idea that in a given situation or in terms of your character as a whole, I support you and I value you, even if you have failed to live up to certain expectations or wishes in the past. And I suppose that's when belief is required the most, because at that point others might write you off or dismiss you or not hold any reasonable expectations about what you might do or any behavior you might manifest, but those who care, those who do value you still, will believe in you even if maybe it seems like logically or rationally they shouldn't. So yeah, I expect some use of that concept excuse me here, but at the same time, and given some of their songwriting as I've heard it, maybe it'll be the case that the narrator doesn't quite believe that themselves, that they're worthy of that belief, and maybe there'll be a disconnect between the way the phrase is most regularly used and the sentiment of the piece. So I'll see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Dubstar, the track is Believe in Me, and it's from their 2000 album Make It Better.
For you to know
so fascinated by the lyrics. I'll take a stab at them in a minute. But first, sonically, it did have that light and smooth, yet a bit edgy at the same time dynamic, which is perhaps more in their typical sonic wheelhouse. Luca, what are you doing over there? But yes, okay, so I enjoyed that rhythmic guitar, which had this electric quality, and it was sort of cycling for a lot of the track. In the end, it got a bit more, not necessarily bluesy, but a bit more expressive, not terribly unlike some bluesy guitar. But I also enjoyed, there were a lot of electric sounds, there were some rapid fire like drum or percussion flourishes. But yeah, definitely some electric sounds that would phase in and out, getting closer and clearer and then farther away and a bit obscured. Even some that had almost like a techno type of sound, like laser or really electronica type of character. I will say overall the rhythm and the percussive groove was a bit trip hop in its stylings. And lyrically, okay, so it feels like it is very nuanced, but it sounds like she's saying that the loss to trust was maybe her fault, like she did something that messed things up, that took away the plans or the love of the land they had. I don't know what the back of his hand was about, but yeah, it sounds like they had ideas about what they were going to be together, and then maybe she did something that messed that up. But then I was thinking, oh, well, maybe it was him, because she's saying escape with me and believe in me. It's like, oh, so believe in me isn't like a request or a command to someone else. It might be like a self-affirmation that, okay, this didn't work and everything has come to an end between us, but I believe in me and I'm going to escape with me. But then she says at the end, it's like she turns it around, like escape from me. And that swung me back to thinking maybe it's her actions and behavior that, put the schism between them. But either way, it sounds like the belief is as much a mantra and maybe less sincerely held. So yeah, it feels as anything else. So it feels like she's trying to instill a belief, again, whether she's saying it to him, like, oh, believe in me even if this didn't work out, or believe in me, self, because now that's all you're going to have, because this other person is no longer part of your life. But at the same time, I'm not sure exactly which way the phrase is oriented. So basically it feels very complicated, but I guess the gist or the functional aspect I got of it is that this relationship and any plans they had is no more, and maybe the reason for that is something that was a breach of trust. But yes, I enjoy the sonics, I enjoy her vocals, of course. I feel like that's a mainstay. There was a moment where I was feeling like, listen to that's like, oh, this kind of could be a garbage tune. By the time it got to the end, I felt less like that. But yes, ultimately, I did just hear a tune where Shirley's singing really caught my ear, and Sarah's singing here caught my ear in a similar sort of way. But regardless, I'm enjoying this album, and ultimately, I once again look forward to both Mark and Phil's comments, as well as any others who may be taking this journey. Let me know, and I will see you next time. Peace.